Kanye West, Harassment. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Kanye West has not been one to shy away from controversy. One always remembers the look on Michael Myers' face when they were doing, I think, a fundraiser in relation to the effects of Hurricane Katrina, and Kanye West, quite possibly speaking the truth, suddenly blurted out, "President Bush hates black people," or words to that effect. Michael Myers' face was a picture, but it shows how he just puts it out there, speaks his mind because of his sense of entitlement. We saw the way that he behaved in relation to Taylor Swift, interrupting her acceptance speech to bang on about how Beyoncé ought to have won it. And there are many examples of his narcissism. He, of course, split up with Kim Kardashian, and there was a war of words between the two of them, as two narcissists that had been together turned into two narcissists that were no longer together, but continued to need to assert control over one another, and their repeated proclamations threatened one another's need for control. Kanye finds himself subjected to another threat to control as a consequence of being on the receiving end of a lawsuit. Lawsuits are a complete irritation for narcissists, but they invariably find themselves on the receiving end of them as a consequence of the fact, essentially, of two factors. The first is because the narcissist has that need for control and doesn't recognize boundaries, operates with a sense of entitlement and lacks accountability, they will often behave whereby rules, regulations, conventions, protocols don't apply to them. In certain instances, this results in legal action being taken against them for the transgression. In some instances, the narcissist will not abide by the terms of the contract because their narcissism simply tells them they don't need to. This then means that they're sued, perhaps for specific performance to ensure that they undertake what they had originally agreed to do, or more usually for damages. In some instances, the narcissist will find themselves on the receiving end of criminal action, because once again, their lack of boundary recognition and sense of entitlement causes them to contravene the criminal law. The other aspect of why narcissists commonly find themselves involved in litigation is, of course, that they will use litigation themselves for the purpose of assertion of control over individuals. And you'll find that there are some particularly litigious individuals who are indeed narcissists. But it's also the case that many narcissists get themselves in a prominent position, that they become well known, that they become famous or infamous, which often means that they become a target sometimes for the delusions of others. And in such circumstances, because of their prominence, because of their wealth, because of the fact that they're well known, they become a target for other narcissists to take action against them, where it might not necessarily be true. Thus, the narcissist, somewhat ironically, finds themselves involved in legal action, even where they might not actually have done anything wrong, but because of the deluded behaviour of another narcissist that is using the law to assert control over the first narcissist. In this instance, Kanye West is finding himself being sued for sexual harassment. Mansoor Shaheen writes in the Mirror, "The disgraced rap star Kanye West is facing trouble once more as he is being sued by his former assistant," according to a TMZ report. West is accused of sending Lauren Pisciotta messages implying that he wanted to have sex with her as she worked as his assistant in 2021. Now, if that's true, that's him hoovering her, failing to recognise the boundary of the employment relationship and acting with the sense of entitlement to suggest that he wanted to have sex with her. He would also allegedly perform a sex act on phone calls with her. Sense of entitlement, lack of boundary recognition, if, of course, the case. He was notably married to reality TV mogul Kim Kardashian at the time. Therefore, if these allegations are true, this would suggest infidelity on his part, which demonstrates a lack of emotional empathy for Kim Kardashian and a sense of entitlement. Pisciotta is suing for a breach of contract, sexual harassment, wrongful termination, and for working in a hostile work environment. So at this juncture, of course, these are simply allegations that have been issued by her as part of her lawsuit. There has not been any trial, there has not been any testing of the evidence, and it's important that one bears that in mind. Picciotto was working as an OnlyFans model before being recruited by West to work as chief of staff at multiple of his companies in June 2021. It's unclear as to whether this was an effective hire based upon her actual skill and experience, or whether the fact that he just fancied her and that she was doing OnlyFans. She was making around $1 million per year because of her adult career. She collaborated with West on several of his songs, along with serving other roles at his ventures. However, a year into their business partnership, West approached her to become more religious. The rapper has taken an odd spiritual turn over the past decade, starting with his 2016 album The Life of Pablo, and multiple gospel records he's released since. As part of this ask of Picciotto, he asked her to delete the OnlyFans account, assertion of control, ordering around, offering her $1 million a year to do so. She agreed. However, the God-fearing man is said to have taken an odd turn thereafter. He allegedly sent her a series of vulgar text messages, hoovering, about wanting to cheat on his wife, infidelity. Picciotto also allegedly received sexual videos and pictures from West, including some of himself in the act with other women, triangulation. She also reports that he asked her if she could hear him performing a sex act on the phone, and about the penis size of men she was seeing, intrusive, lack of boundary recognition. It is yet another legal battle for West, who was also sued in February for using an uncleared sample on his most recent album. The rapper, once highly esteemed, has suffered a dramatic fall from grace in recent years. He was dropped by Adidas, maker of his popular Yeezy shoe brand, after he went on multiple anti-Semitic rants, sense of entitlement, lack of emotional empathy. A school he founded, called the Donda Academy after his late mother, also collapsed following allegations that West improperly treated staff, high-handedness, haughtiness, lack of emotional empathy. Now, this lawsuit that has been brought by Picciotto is, of course, simply allegations at this juncture. But there may be some truth in it as a consequence of the fact that we know that he's a narcissist and the behaviours that he has exhibited elsewhere. It remains to be seen. The evidence has to be tested. But, of course, another lawsuit coming along is problematic for him, as it offends his need for control. He may well deny it, utilising the first line of the twin lines of the narcissistic defence. He may ultimately decide to pay her off in order to nullify the threat to control posed by it, or perhaps go to trial and defend it there. We will have to see what happens. But once again, controversy follows Kanye West around, unsurprising, given the fact that he's a narcissist, and he finds himself on the end of a control-threatening lawsuit. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.